Hello, Panthers, and welcome back to episode 3. I'm Tori, and today's episode will be focusing on mental health awareness. And later in the show, Alex will be hosting a roundtable discussing social media. So let's get to it.
We are 105.
And we are here. Name's Tori. We have Mr. H, Miss Ramos, and Miss Tang joining us. We might have Miss G coming in later in the episode. We will be discussing the mental health aspect of life and how important it is. We will be starting off with our first question. Can you explain to me the overall importance of mental health for students? Just if anyone wants to jump in. Not all at once.
Really appreciate the warm welcome. Thank you. This is Ms. Ramos, and I really feel that mental health for students is really important just to have a broad awareness of like what supports we have, what we can do to better help students too, as staff here, teachers, admin, everybody. So that's about it for me.
Hey everybody, Ms. Tang here. Super excited to be joining on the Room 105 podcast. Mental health is very similar to physical health, so it's really important that students and staff alike are taking care of themselves. Just like you would go to the doctor if you were to break a bone, you would see a counselor or check in with a trusted adult or a friend to kind of help heal your heart if you're hurting, right? Mental health is just as important as physical health.
Mr. H, you want to go?
This is Mr. H. I want to thank you for inviting us here too, and I want you guys to know that we're available in the Wellness Center as well, and you have awesome counselors and staff here at school that are willing to help out and be there for you.
And which room is the Wellness Center in?
Room A6 is the Wellness Center.
A6, just so you know. Miss G, you have anything to add?
Hi, y'all. I'm Miss G. So, room D5, D as in dog, D5. Okay, so I'm one of the school counselors. As you know, I work really closely with Miss Tang and whatnot. Y'all know where to find me. And just know that school counselors and the Wellness Center are here to support you always 100%. So always feel free to drop in whenever you need someone to talk to, whatever it is. We know we got your back always 100%.
What are some of the main issues you're seeing with students today? Mr. H, you want to start us off?
All right. So one of the main issues that we're seeing with students today is I think that we're not being proactive in regards to mental health. And so if you're noticing that you need a little support, it's important to right away to reach out to someone in the Wellness Center, your counselors, all the supports you have on campus, and just be a little more proactive.
So it's just not going out to get that help. They're just living with it instead of getting help with it.
Well, what I would like to see is more students coming in before they, they're at a place where, before they feel flustered or before they feel where, kind of like where they're in crisis. Before they're in crisis, they come in to get support, or if they're starting to feel overwhelmed, like they come in early to get the support that they need before they're really overwhelmed.
Some good advice.
Something I would add to jumping off of what Mr. H was saying regarding just looking for the support is that one of the main issues I'm seeing, especially in middle school, is just relationships. So relationships with peers, family, really anyone. It gets really tricky at this age. There's a lot of change happening, whether that's at home or at school. So looking for those healthy supports is really important throughout a lifetime, but especially at this time.
Yeah, kind of just like adding additional to Mr. H and Ms. Ramos is that what would be nice and what I would like to challenge our GEM students to do is to really check in with your body, because oftentimes your mental health manifests itself within like how you're feeling. So sometimes when you feel angry, people could describe maybe feeling their hands are hot or sweaty, or if they're feeling stressed, maybe they have a stomach ache, or maybe they feel uneasy. And those are symptoms of your body telling you, hey, you might need some additional supports. And students are having kind of a harder time identifying those physical triggers and then being able to reach out for supports prior to feeling very overwhelmed, like Mr. H was saying. And definitely relationships are super tough in middle school. So just know that we do have a wellness center on campus and counselors here to help you walk through those friendship issues that you may be having. Maybe you have a romantic interest that you want to chat about. Whatever it is you want to talk about, we do have safe spaces on campuses for students to take advantage of.
So mental issues can really just come out in the forms of physical issues as well, and not just having it bottled up in your head.
So another thing that I do want to highlight too is the trusted adult, right? Just making sure that we are reaching out to those people that we feel safe and we feel comfortable with and who we trust, because those are mostly the people that will do what's best for us, right? Will support us, will help us keep us safe, and will provide you with the supports that you need to make sure that you are living 110%, right? Like healthy lifestyle includes like the mental well-being, right? So just making sure that we're reaching out to those people, whether that's like parent, guardians, your counselors, your teachers, staff, whoever those are, making sure that we're reaching out to those for the extra additional support.
What are the best ways for students to cope or resources they should know about? Mr. Ramos, would you like to start us off?
Some of the main resources, especially, well, like I was saying earlier, the friendships are super important for everybody to just feel like a part of something. And a good place to start as far as like resources go for students is like any sports, getting involved with a club, like with this podcast, amazing. So just little things like that to find others that share the same interests as you, so you can really like thrive out there, because there's always somebody that will, like the same show as you or same sport or art style. There's always somebody out there is what I'm finding out, and finding those people is just really important.
So I just want to say also, if you don't have healthy ways to cope, when you go into the wellness center, we can talk about and game plan together. And if I don't find something for you, we can go out and look and find out resources and other supports that are out there in the community for you as well.
Something that I also want to share about coping skills is not every coping skill is for everyone, right? Like everybody likes different things, just like how everybody likes different food, right? So how I like to describe a coping skill is it's like a pantry where you have like a bunch of food, right? You have snacks, you have like your Cheez-Its, you have your Pop-Tarts, you have your chips, you have your Doritos, and each person likes their favorite snack, right? Same thing with the coping skill. Like you get whichever one works best for you. So I might like the Doritos, but Miss Tang might like the hot Cheetos, So you kind of just figure out as you go. Like practice makes perfect. So whatever coping skill works for you, right? It might not work for me, it might not work for Miss Tang, Miss Ramos, Mr. H, whatnot. It's whatever works best for you. And I think that's really important to know, because there are a lot of coping skills out there, but we just want to make sure that you have the one that feels right for you and works for you.
So like Ms. G was saying, there are many different types of healthy coping skills. So healthy coping skills would just be defined as something that is a positive choice. So it's keeping you safe and keeping other people safe. So examples of healthy coping skills that the Wellness Center and myself and Ms. G suggest is like go outside, get some fresh air, maybe walk a pet, spend time with a loved one, draw, listen to music. These are like the most popular ones that students share with us. So those are some examples. Regarding resources in our community, if you ever are just like, oh, I'm wondering what's out there, what kind of counseling is available, what activities are available in our community, you can always stop by in A6, D5, or C5, and we can always provide you with a list as well.
And now a quick word from our sponsors.
Hello, we interrupt this podcast for a brief message from our sponsors this year. A big thanks to our platinum level sponsors, Eschaton Village in Roseville, Tamerlane Music, and Sierra Pacific. We can't thank you enough for your support. Now back to the podcast.
And welcome back. Now for our next question, what are the long-lasting effects COVID has had on students?
What we're seeing a lot of the after effects of COVID is a lot of higher stress and anxiousness. So we're seeing a lot of anxiousness among students and families in general, just due to not having those supports, right, that we talked about earlier, or feeling more distant from just everybody that we used to be so close to in proximity. And a lot of us, I think, lost our coping skills. I know for me personally, like I listen to music all the time, and then like being at home with everybody, it's like, oh man, like I don't even know what kind of music to listen to right now. There's been just so many changes, right? So you start doing other things, and some things might work as a coping skill, other things might not. But those are just some of the things we're seeing, especially at the Wellness Center. Just loss of friendships, changes, and more stress.
I think something else we're also seeing, Ms. Ramos, is like you mentioned earlier, the impact on relationships. Students are really struggling with balancing multiple types of relationships and also just multiple relationships that are of the same. So sometimes we'll have students that are having a hard time with a friend or maybe like with a cousin or a family member, and they're having a hard time navigating that, and then they're feeling frustrated and discouraged. So something we try to encourage is just students kind of like stick it out. Everybody's struggling right now, especially in middle school. It is a wild time. Y'all are changing as entire people. Like, it's not just you in the shadow of your parent or guardian. Now you're making your own choices that work for you as a person and determining your own likes. So relationships are more complicated at this age. So I think probably that's the biggest one, is just relationships. Just trying to re-navigate what relationships are like, because when we are in pandemic, it looked a lot different than now. And in addition to like social media, which you're going to be talking about later too.
I just want to say one more thing. Also, find your new normal. So, as an example, I used to do an indoor kickball and indoor softball league, and now that's not available anymore. So now I have to find something else that makes me happy and to be able to cope. And so, find what your new normal is, whether it's finding a new hobby or new sports team or new anything, and that whatever makes you happy, that's going to be your new normal.
As mental health supporters, what has been the hardest part of your job this year, and what's been the most rewarding?
Man, that question's tough, Tori. Dang, future journalist in the making right here, right? I mean, well, you're definitely one now, but long term with the monies too. So I would say the most challenging part is that we're only at school Monday through Friday, and we think about our students 365. So that can be challenging, right? Thinking about how we can help teach them supports or coping skills or healthy choices for them to make in their own time when they're not here at school. And the most rewarding is when we see a student make a positive, healthy choice after learning a skill or navigating a new circumstance. That's probably the coolest thing ever.
I think you hit it right on the head for me.
Some of I think the hardest part of being, in the mental health field, especially with students, is seeing how much potential they have for their own, like taking control of things on their own. And I think at this age, finding your own identity, and us kind of outside looking in, seeing that so much can change for that student with just like little, positive choices, or doing that new hobby, like Mr. H was saying, going out there and like putting themselves out there, essentially, how much that can just change like somebody's mood. And when they actually do it, it is so amazing to see them come back and be like, hey, Mr. Ramos or Mr. H, like I tried this thing and I met this new person and I'm doing really good right now. So that's been the really rewarding and challenging piece, I guess you could say, both in one for me.
I think for me is trying to reach out to every single one of you. Like, it's hard, y'all. Like, it's so hard. Reaching out to all 800 and plus one of you, I think that's been kind of, it's unrealistic, right? I don't know about unrealistic, but it's something that it's like very in a perfect role, like reaching out to every single one of you. I think that's a challenging thing for me because I think about it every single day, to be honest. Like, past the Monday through Friday from May 15 to 3:55, like I'm still thinking about every single one of you. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's true. Something that's very rewarding to me though is like when y'all come into my office and like tell me like the fun stuff and the positive stuff and like things that you guys are trying new, the new things that you guys are trying. the activities that you guys are doing during the weekend, the things that you're doing with your family, with your friends, all of that, like that fills up my cup. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love being a school counselor is because I get to interact with you all like for like a lot of like my day at work. So I love what I do and like y'all make me happy. So, me being cheesy here. So sorry about that.
We would like to thank all of our guests for coming on and talk about this topic as we segue to our roundtable about social media with Alex. We'd like to thank you, Panthers. I'm Tori, signing out.
Hello, Panthers. I'm Alex, and welcome to our roundtable discussion. We will be talking about the positive and negative aspects and impacts of social media and how our students here at GEMS feel about it. Our guests today are Maggie, Darian, Grace, and Esteban. Welcome to the show. So, how is social media a part of your everyday lives, Esteban?
Well, it's a part of our everyday lives because, we use it for school and after or before school purposes and stuff.
What about you, Darian?
Well, basically, I'm not ready for that kind of material since I don't use social media. I just read books and just do everything normal activities or normal boy like me needs to do.
What about you, Maggie?
I feel like it's a part of our everyday lives, especially in this generation, because most of us have phones, and so it's like a computer in our pocket, and it dictates a lot of what we do and how we spend our time, because you could just be scrolling on TikTok for like 3 hours, and it's like so time consuming, and you don't think you've been on it for that long, and it just consumes, and by the time like you get done with everything, it's like 8 o'clock at night. So
What about you, Grace?
I don't know. I just use it a lot for mostly communicating with my friends and kind of just for entertainment.
What benefits do you think social media brings you, Maggie?
I feel like communication, like Grace said, and also like entertainment, because social media is definitely entertaining at times. It could be comedic. It could be like, because a lot of people have different types of comedy, and so it's different, and it just benefits like the way we spend our time.
What about you, Esteban?
Well, social media does have many benefits, like how Maggie said, and also for talking with your friends, FaceTime, stuff like that.
What about you, Grace? How does it benefit you?
Mostly just like how Maggie and Esteban said, it just kind of benefits for entertainment.
I think one of the peaks during like social media times was definitely over quarantine type area, because that was definitely when they had nothing better to do. They would spend their days just on social media, on their phones, trying to figure out seeing what everybody else is doing, trying to figure out something to keep them distracted.
Especially if you have a lot of people in your family, like there was so much that you had to like go through.
What's difficult about social media for teenagers, Grace?
I think some of it could be cyberbullying and like self-confidence issues, especially with like other like influencers and just everything you see online.
What about you, Esteban?
Well, like how Grace said, just comparing yourself to other people, cyberbullying. Also, what's the thing? Oh yeah, like beauty standards and stuff like that, how most girls go through.
Yeah, I think beauty standards are one of the like worst, most toxic things on social media. What do you think, Darian?
So what I think about social media is that there is probably a 50-50 chance that if I go to social media, there's that chance that I'm either going to get bullied since I might be interested and new to this world, or maybe someone's going to like me since I'm new. Well, I guess that all depends in the future anyway.
What do you think, Maggie?
Well, I feel like a lot of the benefits and the doubts, like the what is the word? Oh my gosh. The downsides of social media a lot happen with teens because we are so like new and we're trying to find out who we are and all of this stuff, and it having someone whisper in our ear a whole bunch of either negative or positive things can very dictate what we do with our lives. So it's a wide range of things that could sway us.
Yeah, I definitely think that with social media, like our brains are so moldable at this point in age. Like everything kind of, you get mixed signals from everything, so you try to separate like, oh, I like this, wait, that person says I shouldn't like this.
Yeah.
So it's all, it drives people.
And you're trying to find what your group is, especially for middle schoolers, because you like don't know, like everybody wants to be the same, and then in high school you're trying to find out like who you are as a person, and so you're trying to find like your group, good friends.
Like basically finding out who you are.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
How much time do you spend on it, and how does it affect you, Esteban?
Well, especially after school, I do use it a lot, like TV and stuff, but mostly not that like so much.
What about you, Grace?
I definitely use it a lot, especially like TikTok and Snapchat. Yeah.
What about you, Maggie?
I don't use it a lot. I try to like limit myself a lot, and because I know that I can just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling for hours on end, and that it could consume my time with things that aren't as important as some other things in my life. So I try to limit myself, but it can be hard, especially like when your friends are on it all the time and you just feel like you need to be on it.
Yeah.
So
I realized, especially when I'm on things like TikTok or YouTube or whatever, I've realized that I'll be like, okay, one more video. Wait, just one more. Oh, I really like this creator. Let me go dive into their channel or this topic. Oh, let me search up volleyball or something, and I dive into that, and it never ends.
ends.
So
Yeah.
addictive.
It's
Like,
so
it's
you go on
this whole rabbit hole.
You go
Yeah.
on rabbit trail after rabbit trail.
Yeah. If you didn't have social media, how would you occupy your time?
I feel like I would occupy my time with a lot of like family time and probably like reading, maybe some homework if I want to, which I need to get done anyways, so it's a good thing. Probably hanging out with family a lot and friends, because that social media and just the internet and like technology can like very distant you and separate you from other people, like physical beings, and so it's a good thing to reconnect with them.
Yeah. What do you think, Grace?
I think I'd probably just go hang out with my friends, or I don't know.
What about you, Esteban?
Well, like how you both said, like, spending time with family and friends, trying new things, like, foods, like, just like anything.
Yeah. What about you, Darian?
So, since I don't use social media, I just watch normal TV, which is pretty normal for me. I just watch the recordings, and since my family has streaming services, I just watch those too. And basically, since I'm a 2000s kid, I just basically want to watch everything that has been released between January 1st, 2000 to December 31st, 2009. So, just to wrap things up, I just want to watch everything that has been in the past, and it's still popular even today.
Do you think social media is like harmful to our minds or our well-being?
What? Oh,
And like in what ways too?
like
You can go first as well.
it just like. Well, I was always told that it affects your eyes a lot, like with the bright screen and stuff. But like it also harms ourselves, because as stated, cyberbullying, beauty standards, and just comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah. I feel like it can be beneficial or like negative to our minds and like our physical being, because you can either like be on it all the time and you could benefit from it, or you could be on it all the time and people saying so many negative things to you that it just downpours into something else, deeper issues. And it definitely can dictate a lot of situations that you're in.
What about you, Grace?
Like Maggie said, I think it can kind of go either way. It just depends on how you use it and how much time you spend on it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's harmful mentally, especially when people think, like, with standards and stuff, like Esteban was saying, it kind of makes you go berserk, and you have to narrow down, like, oh, this is what everybody's doing, so I need to do that. Wait, I don't like doing that. It's so confusing.
Like
And
trends.
I feel like it depends on the person too, because like you could have one person that doesn't really like, they want to do their own thing and they're the like ringleader of it, or you could have other people that want to do what everybody else wants to do and be cool like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like parents don't really like, not a lot of parents get that. And so like my dad, he's just like, admit to me why you want to do it so bad.
Yeah.
And there's no problem in doing it, like wanting to dye my hair or something, because I saw this person and I really like doing it, or I want to be cool, Dad.
Yeah.
He just wants to get you to realize that you don't need it, but he wants you to like identify it.
How do you think or hope social media will change in the next 20 years? Yeah. Esteban?
Well, I think that social media, like you know how with us right now, how we have so many things that people didn't have, like, you know, back then, like, you know, it's like, you know, having like more things that, like, you know, have technology, stuff like that.
What do you think, Maggie?
I feel like what I want is that people come to the realization that they need to stay out of other people's business. Like, I feel like stop telling other people what they should and shouldn't do with their lives, and bullying wouldn't be around. Yeah. Like, if you just pay attention to yourself and work on yourself. Because most people, what my parents have always said to me is, they're pointing out your insecurities because they're insecure about themselves.
Yeah.
And so if
people hurt people.
Yes, hurt people. And if you don't want to be like put out there as this person, and my dad also says, if the shoe fits and you don't like it, kick it off.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you on the, like, stay in your own business type thing. Even in, like, real personal life, it's like people try and solve other people's issues or start other people's issues, and it only leads to more problems.
It does, and it's unneeded drama.
Yeah. What do you think, Grace?
Kind of just like what Maggie and Alex said about boundaries and just kind of being aware of, like, yourself and other people.
What do you think, Darian?
So what I think for the social media is that pretty sooner or later in the future it's basically going to be a complete waste of time. If you have better things to do, then you could just go off your social media and go do those things instead of just wasting your time doing it.
Yeah.
Just basically, like for me, I don't do social media. I just read my books, play video games, and I just watch cable TV or streaming services, make my lunch, eat some snacks and drinks. Basically, you gotta live like me. And just to wrap things up, this is gonna be a complete weird and good world at the same time when social media gets to a certain type of advancement era.
Yeah. Also, if we think that social media is a big part of our lives now, how much do you think it's going to be a big part of our lives in 20 years? Because there's so many advances going on.
Yeah.
And I do like what Grace said about boundaries. That was a really good word to use, because people, like, some people don't know what boundaries are. And so it's difficult to, like, find someone with that. And people need to have boundaries, set boundaries for other people, and also respect other people's boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, that was a really interesting episode. I would like to thank all of our guests today for joining us to talk about social media and the importance of good mental health. Don't forget to tune in for our next episode of WeAre105. You can find us on Spotify and Apple and YouTube under the YouTube channel GEMS TV 916. As always, if you have any questions or session ideas, we would love to hear them, so email gemstv@wpusd.org. Have a good one, Panthers.